So in this video we are going to see how we can navigate from one Fiori application to another. There are many different ways to achieve this requirement, but specifically in this video we are going to see intent-based navigation, which we have already seen in some different way when we configure our tile onto the Fiori Launchpad. So what this intent-based navigation actually is, it's a mechanism through which we can navigate from one application to another application, or we have also used this mechanism to navigate from our Fiori tile to an application. When we configure a tile, we also configure the target mapping and other configurations. There we always use a semantic object and an action. These are the two main things which we need in order to create an intent-based navigation between different application, or when we want to navigate cross application from one Fiori application to another Fiori application. When we use this intent-based navigation, as I said, it contains semantic object and action combination. That's an intent, and these intents which we define are converted to actual URL at runtime. Whenever user clicks on any tile, for example, there is a semantic object and action defined behind the scene in configuration. But when the application gets open, so that semantic object and the action gets converted, or the intent get converted into actual URL, and then the application gets opened. There are different options or different places when we can use this intent-based navigation, or we can say what are the benefits of using the intent-based navigation. So very first thing which we have already talked about, when we need to connect two different Fiori applications, to and fro navigation, in that case we can use this. When different views needs to be displayed based on the user role or device types. This is a very common use case when intent-based navigations are very helpful and very handy. You can have different views available, and you can define different intent-based navigation for all of the views. For example, it can be open based on the user role, what role that user has been assigned to, or it can be based on the device type. So for example, the same application can have different look and feel on the desktop. It can have a different look onto the mobile device. When user is using a device, mobile device, then a different intent is triggered. If a user is using a desktop application, then a different intent can be triggered. Another benefit or the place where we can use this intent-based navigation is, for example, a Fiori application is extended, and there is a need to change the navigation inside the application or from inside the standard application. So rather than making a change or applying a hard-coded URL to open the different app, this intent-based navigation is very helpful. So you just need to make a small configuration change in either in your CDS view or in your configuration if you are changing the tile navigation. This is very handy and very easy to implement, and there is no code change in this case. Now, how this intent is created, or what are the things available when we create an intent-based navigation? So it contains a semantic object, it contains an action, and it also contains some parameters. And these parameters are optional parameter. For example, if you want to pass certain parameter from one Fiori application to another Fiori application, and then the destination Fiori application will use that parameter and display the output accordingly. So if you see on the screen, we have a URL, and it's a Fiori Launchpad URL, base URL, and then it contains the semantic object. So after the hash, it has a semantic object and the action name. This you will create. There is a T code. We have already seen how to create the semantic object in our previous videos. So that semantic object and the action. So for example, if I want to navigate from one list report application to another list report application, I will put a semantic object here, and then an action. This action could be your create, your analyze, or display. There are multiple actions which can be used based on the requirement in different situations. Now there are some annotations which we can use for implementing the intent-based navigation. These are two kind of mainly which we are going to see in this video. So first is for intent-based navigation and with intent-based navigation. There are some more available, but for now we are focusing on these two which are most popular ones, which mainly used when you want a cross navigation between two different Fiori application. Either it is a standard or it's a custom Fiori application. This was the introduction of intent-based navigation, what it is, and now let's see how we can implement this practically. So now let's start how to implement this intent-based navigation. And as you already looking, I have created two different applications. One is flight listing and another is flight details. We will be connecting these two applications together. Both the applications are having different OData services. Before starting, let me show you what configuration I have done here. We already have a catalog, and I have added these two tiles. So one is flight details and another is flight listing. So these two tiles are available here, and let's see the target mapping. For target mapping, I have created two different semantic objects. So this is the one and this is second. Let's select the first application and see the configuration for this. So this application is flight listing application, and it is using this semantic object and action. So we have seen it is a combination of semantic object and action, which is intent. So this intent will convert it into actual URL of the application. Now let's see the next one. So the next is having a semantic object of 2 here, IB navigation 2, and the action is again display here. So the first application is this one, which is flight listing. We will be navigating from flight listing application to flight details application. It means we need to navigate onto this semantic object. We need to navigate using this semantic object here. Okay, now so after this I have added some more configuration to get these application onto Fiori Launchpad. One thing we need to keep in mind is, and that's a mandatory, if you want to navigate through the intent-based navigation, you have to deploy your application onto Fiori Launchpad. Without deploying the application on Fiori Launchpad, the intent-based navigation will not be visible to you. Basically, it doesn't work in the preview format. It should be deployed onto Fiori Launchpad. Now let's start. I have created different CDS views. So first CDS view is flight listing, which is this one, and a very simple selecting data from SPFLI with 4 different fields. Then my second one is metadata extension for this CDS view, which is MDE, and here I am just adding line items, nothing special here. The next CDS view is for flight details, and in this application or in this CDS view I am collecting data from S-flight table, all of the fields mostly. And then metadata extension file, we have some UI annotation here. So very simple and straightforward. If you are not familiar with these things, we already have so many videos in this channel with playlist, so you just need to start and start learning there as well. Now we need to define the intent based navigation, and for that we have some properties that needs to be added onto UI annotation. Our requirement is to navigate from flight listing application to flight details application. So for that, let's go to flight listing CDS view, but here we rarely define any annotation. We need to open the metadata extension for flight listing. So let's go here, and what we want here is let's see the application. So flight listing, if I click on here, I have this application, and there is no navigation here as such. The only navigation is this table navigation, which is a default one, right? And no information is displayed. This application is flight listing application. What my requirement is, I need to configure intent based navigation onto this field. This column will convert it into links, and whenever I click on any of the airline name or airline ID, the details application should be displayed with all of the details or all the flights available for American airline or the airline code on which I clicked. So this is our requirement. Now let's make the changes. So this field is the one where we want to create the link, or we need to change this column to link. For that, let's add some annotation here. The very first annotation is label, and this property will not be used in our first scenario, but let's add it. Now the second property is type. This is the main annotation which we will be using. So type would be with intent based navigation here. Okay, and now the next property is semantic object action, which we have already seen when we define the tile. So we define the semantic object and the action. So currently we are defining the action here. So action would be display. Okay, now the next thing which we need to provide here is another annotation, which is consumption dot semantic object. Now which semantic object we need to use? We need to use the second application semantic object, and which is this one. So if you click on this is the flight details. I want to navigate onto this application. That's why I need to use this semantic object. So copy this and paste it here, and that's it. We are done with our intent based navigation. Now activate. Our object is activated. Now let's go back and see here no link is available. Go back, refresh our application or launchpad. Now click on the flight listing, click on go and see. Now we got all of these airline names as a link here. Now let's try to click on United Airline and see we are on to different application which is flight details, and it is showing all of the flights for United Airlines. You will also see there are filters. Automatically these filters are added here, which is showing the airline United Airline and the connection number 0941, which uniquely identify this airline. Okay, let's try. Now we are again to flight listing, our original application. You see here this navigation is having again some intent, which is ZIB navigation 1, and the action is display. Now let's click on American Airline. You see all of the American Airlines with all of the details available here. And if you go to filter American Airline and the connection number, along with this you see this intent which is having ZIB navigation 2, which is semantic object and action for our second application. Okay, so this is how we can add a navigation, or we can convert a column to the link here to navigation onto a different application or different Fiori application. So this navigation will work differently, and if you click on the row, this navigation will work differently. We are in the same application right now, which is flight listing. Now let's use another way of making this intent based navigation active. So this was making a link. Now the other one is, what we were going to do is we will be making this table as a single select. So what it will do is it will create a radio button on each of the row. You select one record and then you have an action button available here. So when you select a record and click on the action button, your application will be navigated to a different application. So let's see how that can be done. Let's again open our CDS view or the metadata extension. Now to enable the action navigation, basically what we need to do is we just need to change it to for, and that's it. Activate. Our object is activated. Go back, go to home page, refresh and open the flight listing application again. See, now we are getting radio buttons for connection number, and we also have an action available here now. So now if I want to navigate, for example, I want to navigate onto this airline, I will select this record and click on the airline name. See, now flight details, another application has been opened, and all the details for connection 555 is available here. Now go back, select another record for 17, click on airline name. See, this is airline and airline number. Let's try 2402. See, 2402. So this is how we can implement intent based navigation with action button and without action button by making the first column or the key column as a key field or as a navigation field. So that's all for now in this video, and if you like the content, please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you.